the overall goal here is to introduce you to a tool that you might find helpful, that you might actually want to use. However, if you find at any time this is not the tool for you, you are not obligated to be here. This is voluntary. So thank you for coming as well. But feel free to head on out and use your time however you need to use it. Because if you find 10 minutes into this, you're like, I don't think this really has a role in my classroom, I will not be offended, or at least I'll pretend that I'm not. I'll talk to my wife about it later and be really upset about it because, I'm sensitive, but we should probably move on to a new topic because I don't want to talk about that too much, as most men don't, obviously. So Loom, in its essence, very simply put, is a screen and video recording program. So I thought it'd be neat to just go ahead and get a link to an actual Loom just to show you quickly what that could look like. And this is one that was actually made by Loom. So when I click this link, it brings you to the Loom website. This is the main sharing interface. And there's going to be a video right here. You can see a title right here. And so if I hit play, I'm going to mute this guy as he talks. But the basic interface is that it records whatever's on your screen, and you can have this nice, nifty little webcam bubble added into it. Now, this is, again, obviously not one that I made, but this just gives you an idea of what we're going to be looking at as we go forward. So this is kind of like end product before we walk you through a few of those steps. So thinking about the ability to record this software, I do have some goals in mind for you guys. And if you didn't already catch that, by the way, the presentation is available for you guys, and you can steal it, use it, browse through it, whatever you'd like. I posted that a couple more times for you. But as we get into it, here are the goals I really have in mind is, one, I want to make sure that whatever this is that you can walk out of here, or leave here, I should say, being able to describe what a screencast or a screen recording is, because there's different ways you can do that on your computer, to determine if Loom fits into your virtual and actual classroom. So I do this very much knowing that this is not going to be for everybody. And I'm a nerd. I've been a nerd all my life. I built the computer that's in front of me, for example. But even though I am a nerd and I feel very comfortable with technology and things related to that, I still feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath my feet, as I'm sure a lot of you have. And so I'm still having to do a lot of things on the fly and make some major adjustments. So make sure you know that you are not alone in that. And the one thing, though, that I bring up your actual classroom is in the back of my mind as I go through these and I'm forced to adapt and learn these new tools and new methods and new expectations. I try to remember, how can I take this from my virtual classroom, and can some of this be useful in my regular classroom? And oh, awesome. No problem, Pam. Because if you can take any of this and use it in your actual classroom, you can think that you're almost doing double duty. And I've already thought to myself that something like Loom, I could use it to record different concepts and ideas, and I could bring that into my regular classroom as a sort of review guide that students could view on their own whenever they want with my own personal touch. So that's something you might want to consider. And I want you to leave here feeling comfortable on how to make a Loom video and to share it with somebody, which is very simple and very straightforward. So as we go through it, if you have questions, please do shout them out. Let me know whatever they are. I'll address them as I go. I'll try to leave a few minutes at the end. If I forget, somebody remind me to give you the survey as well, because we're trying to gather feedback. Leanna Mullen, who kind of organizes a lot of these things, really takes that to heart, and she does try to organize these based off of your needs. And when I was getting ready to do these professional development sessions, I remember talking to John Davis, Mr. Davis, our assistant superintendent. And one of the most important things to remember as I go through this too is just to simply connect with your kids, to make sure learning is taking place, because you know your kids, you know what's good for them, you know how to connect with them, and make sure that you know that this is just but one tool to make that happen. And so whether or not this is something you want to lean into because it works really well, that's great. But if it's something you feel you cannot utilize or is not effective for you, don't feel bad about it, right? Do what you need to do to make those connections happen and make learning happen within your classroom, whether it's virtual or face-to-face. So one thing I wanted to really point out at the beginning is that screen recording, you can do it in multiple ways. So the big thing to keep in mind with screen recording, though, is this word asynchronous. That is, screen recording means that whatever is taking place is not done live. It is not done in real time. So that's something that makes it very different than a Google Meet. So for instance, with a Google Meet, you're going to get live interaction like we're doing right now, live interaction with your students. A Loom, for example, Loom video is going to be recorded and then shared with your students, and then they view it on their own. Here, I just have a quick overview of two of the big players in this space, which is going to be Screencastify and Loom. I've been kind of moving towards Loom as I've discovered it, and I'll get into the reasons why, but just as a quick comparison between the two, one big thing is that Loom has now made their Pro plan free for teachers and students, and they said they're going to do that forever. So whatever fancy features they offer, you get full access to them. One thing that I think makes Loom really nice over a Screencastify is that the built-in sharing and website is very nice, very slick, and very fast. And there's no limits on time or the amount of Loom recordings you can have, which is a very nice thing. Screencastify has a 5-minute limit on the free plan. So that can be pretty tough to deal with depending on what you're trying to do. If you want to get more than 5 minutes, you can pay for it, which is fine. You know, some people certainly do. It's not overly expensive, but there is a cost there. Screencastify has been around for a long time. It's a bit more of a mature player in this space, so to say. That is, they've been around for longer, right? It's a more mature program. But you can easily have it saved to your Google Drive. You can easily do things like exporting to different file formats, which probably doesn't matter for most of us here anyway. But they're definitely both capable. And the one thing that they can both handle is they're still both very simple and fast. I'd say Screencastify might be a slight bit simpler to get up and going, but they're roughly the same otherwise. All throughout this presentation as well, you're going to notice there are links. So down here, I linked right to Screencastify site and Loom site over there. Actually, no, I didn't do Loom site. Man, rip. The dream. And it was going so well up until now. All right. So I always like to give some examples of instructional applications for these tools. And so, for instance, if you're saying to yourself, what could I do with that video that you started off seeing at the very beginning? And one of the things you could simply start off by doing is something very simple, like a class update or directions for your students. And let me just show you an example of what that could look like. I hit class updates. It brings me right to a Loom that I actually recorded myself. There's myself with my beard angled to the side because I guess I must have slept on it funny. But essentially, it's me talking to my students. Ooh, that was probably really loud, sorry. Me talking to my students through a couple of happenings in the class. Very simple, straightforward message. I can see that 27 students have viewed this one. So that's good, although I'd like to certainly see more, which is a nice thing here. You get that view count. I can easily see where I was able to share this video with this link up here. And then I have some options that you could play around with over here on the right side, which I'll try to loop back around to later. But that's a simple way to use a Loom recording. Now, another thing you could do, and we're going to go from more simple to more complex, is you could just simply explain the directions orally to students, which I know we do in class very frequently, especially for our special ed students and our special ed teachers. Reword, redirect, explain it in different ways. It can be very handy to have that here with you actually in there, and it also has that personal touch. You could certainly use Loom to offer student feedback on assignments. You know, you could have the student assignment up on your computer screen, for example, and then you could talk the student through in 20, 30 seconds what score they got, why they got it, good things and bad things about it. And that's something you could play around with. You could have students actually do assignments on there. They can get free accounts on Loom as well, where they could have a PowerPoint and then they could record their lecture and their presentation through Loom and then send it to you to view later. You can also just do the very simple tried and true for our middle and high school people mostly, slides and lecture. And my wife, who's also a teacher, she was doing this with one of her US 1 classes. And you can see that right here. I'll turn the volume down. But you can see my lovely, lovely, very beautiful wife that is not only lovely, intelligent, she's beautiful, she's the whole package. I don't know if she can hear me right now, but I hope she can, here in the corner. And then she has her slides over here, and she's simply taking a 13-minute little mini lesson here, going through the compromises leading up to the Civil War. And I think that bubble there, you don't have to have the webcam, but it really adds a nice personal touch. And just so you can hear a little bit. So that's just her getting up and rolling. And there's a couple other little options you can play with on the videos as well, but just to give you an idea of one application. So one thing, too, to get to the more complex bits of this is right over here. This thing that I call app smashing, I did not make up that term, but this is where you can start to do some pretty neat, interesting things, where app smashing, the whole idea is that you take one app. Think of like an app on your phone, right? Like, let's say I do something in one app. I make a, I don't know, fancy picture in some drawing app. Then let's say I took that fancy picture and I added it to Loom to then record myself over it to tell you more about it. That is where the smash takes place, because then you could take the product of two separate apps and like an equation, doing this plus this equals something brand new that did not exist before. And so app smashing is where you could really unleash your own kind of creativity to do things that are really more complex, more interesting, and a bit more engaging. So here's a rather simple app smashing type example. I'm sure some of you have probably heard of the website Edpuzzle. If you have not, Edpuzzle is a site where you can take videos and you can add questions to them. And so, for instance, here, just give you a quick, I guess, hey, Greg Smith from Eagle was doing one over here. You can take things from YouTube, right? And then, is that turning? There, volume down. And then it adds questions. So, for instance, in this point in the video, you have a multiple choice question that you need to answer. And so here's where the app smash would take place. I could record myself giving my own personal lecture, let's say, on Loom, post it, add it to Edpuzzle, and then build in questions to actually make it a built-in quiz. It could be a quiz you want to grade, it could be a mini check-in assignment, it could be a variety of things. You could do the same thing with a painting. If you're teaching an art class, for example, talking about different important parts of a painting. For instance, you know, oh, that there's a vanishing point at the center of the Last Supper, and that's where your eye is drawn because of the parallel lines converging upon Jesus's head in the Last Supper, etc., and so on. So those are some general applications. And of course, too, much like we're doing right now, I have already done this quite a bit. You can do tutorials for staff or students. I've had lots of staff asking me for help. Sorry, advanced there again. On different things in class and getting set up. And I will say that for my colleagues, it's been very fast and easy just to do a quick screen recording with Loom to then show them what they need to do and then how to get certain tasks accomplished. So Loom comes in roughly 3 flavors: a desktop app, an iOS or iPhone app, and a Chrome extension. There is no Android app yet. Apparently is in development, but it has not currently been released. However, one of these will meet the needs of everybody. Here's why. iOS means that if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can record the screen on your iPhone or iPad and pipe it directly to Loom. You can also do that without Loom, by the way. If you're ever curious, you can record your screen. That's a bit more of an advanced thing, I'd say. Most of us probably won't be playing with that. The Chrome extension, however, works on anything that runs Google Chrome. Chromebook, Mac, PC, whatever runs Chrome, you can do it on there, which is perfectly fine. Now, the desktop app is where you take the Loom application. Think about an app on your phone. It's a program that does stuff, and it lives physically on your computer that is directly in front of you. So the Chrome extension lives in the cloud and follows your Chrome wherever it goes. The desktop app lives on the physical computer and only follows you where the computer goes. For example, I have a MacBook Pro, because again, I'm a nerd. I've got too many computers apparently. Right here, if I have Loom on this, the desktop app, it only goes where this goes. If I go to another Mac somewhere else, it will not have that on there because it lives on that physical machine. There are some differences between each one of these options. Most of us here will focus on the desktop app and the Chrome app, or the Chrome extension, I should say. And so those will be what I focus on a bit more. So right here, we've got the similarities between the Chrome extension and the desktop app, as well as some of the differences. One of these, actually, I learned live in my presentation this morning, which is interestingly enough. So I learned something new from one of my audience members there. So the desktop app is slightly more powerful. It is slightly harder to install, I would say, than the Chrome extension, but not by a very big margin. Both are still rather simple. So the Chrome extension is going to be a little bit more simple and a little bit less powerful. You can't do quite as many things, but you can do almost all the same things. On the desktop app, a nice thing is that webcam bubble you saw where you can see my face on the screen. If you're using the desktop app, it's going to follow you no matter where you go. Because when the app lives on your computer knows, I want that bubble, your face, anywhere that you go. Now, the Chrome extension can't do that. Here's why. With the Chrome extension, Loom does not live on your computer. It lives up in the cloud. So it only can follow you where Chrome goes. And I had a teacher email me about this earlier today. So let's say, for example, you were using the Chrome extension and you were showing a Google Slides presentation, but then you wanted to open up a Word document. You could not do both of those at the same time because Word lives over here on your computer and Chrome lives over here, and they don't meet. They stay separate. So then you would want the desktop app as your primary means of recording. So one other thing that's different is if you wanted to record internal audio on your computer, example, you want to record you talking about a YouTube video, you would have to use the Chrome extension. Here's why. Loom currently, they're working on this apparently, it's in the pipeline, does not have software built in for you to record the sound that's playing in your computer. The only sound Loom will record is from your microphone, unless you can get it into a Chrome tab. So a workaround for this would be you could upload something to your Google Drive and then play that in the background. This is a little bit more advanced, so if this is kind of going over your head, you're saying, well, what the heck is this guy talking about? You don't need to worry about that part. That's getting a little bit more advanced. There's no mouse highlight or drawing tool in the Chrome extension, but you do have that in the desktop app. But both of them, they all upload everything to the Loom website. So as soon as you're done recording, off it goes into the cloud, the video recording. Okay, it's very easy to share. And I will say this is one of the nicest features. And there's view tracking and et cetera, and some of these things all live on the website. So that means no matter if you use the Chrome extension or the desktop app, you get all these things in the middle. And your account follows you no matter where you go, by the way. So if you have a Chromebook, you could start on your Chromebook and do a video there. You could open it up later on a PC, on a MacBook, wherever it is, once it's already on Loom's website. So from here, I just want to show you a little bit of what each of these look like. So this symbol is for Windows because I'm presenting on a Windows machine. I do have a video showing you how to install on a Mac at the end of this presentation that I can share with you as well. And then this is the Chrome extension. So you have a question here. If I'm using the Chrome extension because I'm using a Chromebook, can I use the desktop app? No, because the Chromebooks only run the Chrome browser and they don't run Windows. So with a Chromebook, you can only run the Chrome extension. You would have to run a MacBook, iMac, something like that, or a Windows PC. You do get most of the things, though, like I said, but not everything. And I'll show you what I mean here. So if I click here, this brings me right to a link. This is the Google Chrome Store. And the Google Chrome Store is where you install all these extra things that Google Chrome can do. Mine says remove from Chrome up here because mine's already installed. So you would click that, and then Loom will jump up here in your Google Chrome window. This is the icon for Loom. You can see it in the upper right-hand corner. So if I go ahead and I go over here, I'm going to turn off my camera for the moment because you can't use your camera in multiple places at the same time. If I go back to my Chrome browser and go up here to the upper right-hand corner, I'm going to hit Loom for Chrome. And then it's going to say loading here. And let's see if it wants to work. This morning, it would not work because, yeah, it's not going to work again. So this extension will not work for me right now because I am doing Google Meet with you at the same time. It does not want me to do both of those things simultaneously. Now, if you're not doing a Google Meet, it works just fine. So I'm going to demo the desktop app to you, but the interface is largely the same. So if you see me do this desktop app, you'll notice that the extension is essentially the same. So this is where you would get it installed, though. And I do have plenty of videos and support things to show you a bit more about how to use the Chrome extension. So instead, I'm going to go to my presentation. This right here will bring you right to the Loom website where you can download the actual app that lives on your physical computer. So since I'm on a PC, it defaulted to the PC one. If I click this, it's going to start downloading. You can see it at the bottom here. And then it's going to go down to the bottom of your web browser window if you're using Chrome. And then you can click this installation file and then just tell it, yes, 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 go, go, go. Mine is already installed, so I don't need to do this at the moment. But if I open up the Start menu and start typing in Loom and hit Enter, this, in essence, is the Loom interface. And this is essentially the same as what you would see on your Chrome extension for the most part, with very few differences. So if you just want to get started, all you need to do is hit Start Recording. You're off. Okay. The options here in the middle are kind of important. So what I prefer the most is screen and cam. Here's why. Your students like a personal connection. I truly do feel. And having you there, even though having your voice is helpful, having you in the image is even better because they know you. They know your affect. They want to see your face, right? You can add that personal touch that only voice or certainly text cannot connotate. So that would be the one I would use the most. Now, you can also just do screen. And as you can see on my screen now, everything disappeared. Rather, my bubble did, sorry, and just the screen's in front of me. You can also do cam only. This one's slightly tricky. You see how my bubble is still very small? If I do cam only, it's only recording my webcam. So when the recording is done, it is just going to be me filling up the whole screen. So don't think I'm going to be in this cute little bubble if you do cam only, because then you're going to go share with somebody, you're going to go, oh, it's all me. That class update I did at the beginning was cam only, for example. So these options in the middle, you shouldn't have to mess with very much, because most webcams and microphones are built into your computers. This is where you would select a different one if you had multiple ones. I have a bunch of options here because I'm a nerd and I do different nerdy things. Yours will probably be very simple, or there'll only be one. Up here, you can do two things. One, you can click this little icon here, and it'll bring you right to your Loom website. That's yours personally with all of your videos. You can also click this little contextual menu here, these three dots. And if you hit that, it gives you access to options. And you can play around with those. You can turn certain things on and off. I think that's really over the purview of an introductory PD like this. But to get started, ready? Here you go. Start recording. You won't see this. Since I'm a nerd with two desktops, I see choices. You'll probably have one, unless you're a nerd like me, in which case we probably need to talk and hang out, because nerds stick together, everybody. I'm going to hit desktop 1. That's the one that's in front of me. And then as it prompts, it's going to be a countdown, 3, 2, and 1. And now I am recording. Now, I do say I'm live. However, remember, it's asynchronous. This is not anywhere on the internet for anybody yet. I record it, do all my stuff, and then I move on. Now, what's nice about the desktop app, and this is one thing that makes the desktop app different than the Chrome app, is if I go over here to the left, you see this little menu that pops up? The Chrome app does not get this little pen tool, which is actually pretty nice. If I click on it, I get different colors. I can make different sizes. And then I can use this to draw on my screen to highlight certain things. And then after a second, it goes away, which can be really nice depending on what you're doing, whether it's analyzing a painting, highlighting a text, going through a lecture. You could probably even do, quick calculations for, math. I don't know what those numbers are supposed to end up getting to, but stuff like that, right? And then I can hit done. When you hit stop, the recording stops. When you hit pause, it pauses and you can come back. Trash deletes it. So let me just hit stop. And all that's going to do is now it brings me directly to my Loom website, where now that video lives. And boom, I'm ready to go, ready to share it. I can copy that link. And if I copy that link, I can share it with you right now live. No, Jennifer, that's a good question. You need to pick one and stick with it. You can't integrate or flip between the two. It does not have that capability currently. A workaround for that would be to do two separate videos, and you could edit them together with a very basic video software. Or you could, actually, that'd probably be the best option. Or you would just have two separate videos. You can make the camera bigger or smaller, though, Jen. So I can show you that at the end if you want to stick around. I'll show you that. So this is the basic web interface. This is where all of your Loom videos live after you're done recording. And one of the strongest things I think about this program, because from here, I can copy this link and post it anywhere, like I did for you guys. I can see how many people have viewed it. I can see the title here is default. I can change it to whatever I want. I can't spell Loom. I can adjust some settings here, which I think, again, it's kind of outside the beginner's thing here. And then, actually, let me get my camera back on, because I think that's very impersonal. And then I can go ahead and actually download the video to my physical computer in front of me if I so chose to do so. I could duplicate it, I could delete it, and I have more access to sharing links. Now, the options on this website I'd be worried about are up here. So I can search in my own videos to find something I recorded before. I can go to more. They have their blog. I mean, if you want a new job, there you go. A link to download the desktop app. Their help documents are actually very good, I think. And this little bell is nice, because if you click that, you can see that, for instance, a student left a comment on one of my videos. You can also see that somebody watched one of my videos. You can see somebody else left a comment. Somebody else reacted. Pam, it's funny you said that, because I have been racking my brain for the past 12 hours when I was prepping for this presentation to figure out why you would want to duplicate a video. And I'm not totally sure. My edge case use would be is that, let's say I recorded a video and I wanted to share it with a group of people, but then I realized that, let's say, there was private information or something in it in one part that only some people could see and not everybody. Instead of having to record a brand new video, I could just trim out a piece of, I could make a copy, trim out the piece that I want to take out for one group, and then keep the other one for everyone else. I guess there are some edge case uses for that. I don't think that's really relevant for us, though, generally speaking. If you go to My Videos, you can see this is where all your Loom videos live. So here's the one I just made for you guys. And this interface is pretty nice. You can see there's folders up here. You can make new folders. And I've been organizing mine with folders. I found that to be helpful. You can click, hold, and drag them to whatever folder you want them to live in. You can also, on here, hit this little button to get a link, to copy the link and share it. There's also this contextual menu here. Again, these three little dots. You can tap that. And you could rename it, archive, download, duplicate it, etc. So that's, in essence, the basics of where we were at with this one. That kind of gives you a lot of what you could do with Loom. And let's see. Let me take. Actually, I'll take that question in a second. Let me just finish up just one or two more things. I do have a survey I want everyone to take, by the way, if you can do that, because like I said, Miss Mullen is very good with that kind of stuff. I'll put a link to that in the chat here, everybody, and I'll get to that question in a second. I always share resources at the end of my presentations, and a lot of people find this to be helpful. So over here, you've got a few different things. One, you see this snap camera. You know how your students have fun Snapchat filters? You can do that on your computer too. Because now I'm a potato, everybody. I'm a potato. Look at me. And so that would be a way to make your presentations pretty crazy. Here's an article about how some teachers use Loom. Here's a getting started guide for the Chrome extension, the desktop app, as well as Loom's own starting guide, a video I made for installing this on a Mac computer. Over here on the right are some Loom samples that I made. One thing I wanted to share with everybody, though, before we went, if you're currently entering grades into Google Classroom and then copying them to Infinite Campus, there's an extension you can get for Chrome called Grades Transfer, which is kind of a terrible name, but it's great, where you can take all the grades from Google Classroom, and it basically copies all of them at the same time and can paste them at all the same time into Infinite Campus, which has been pretty great. And I've been using that. So that one, you can actually find the tutorial for Infinite Campus is right here. And there's a quick YouTube video explaining how to do that. So from there, I dropped the link to the survey in the chat. Please do, when you get a chance, take that, because we do take that seriously. We like those things. Then I'll take a couple of questions, and let's see what we got. I've shared the link, put it in your Google Classroom. The students have to sign in anywhere. No, they can just click it, Lynn, which is kind of great. So you ever run into the issues with students who have a personal account and their school account on the same device, or then a student is trying to view something you have for school and they keep looking at it with their parents' account by accident? Loom can be opened up by whomever you want, but there are sharing settings that you can alter. So for example, in a video, you can edit who can see it with the privacy settings over here. So only people with the link can see it. You can actually add a password to the video and password protect it. You can actually make it public so it even appears in a Google search if you wanted. And keep in mind, we get access to all these features for free because we're teachers, and I got our domain, eht.k12.nj.us, approved to get their pro accounts for free. But yeah, we don't have to upload a Loom to YouTube. No, 100%. Lisa, you do not. Oh, yeah. So some staff I've been talking to who have been using this, some of the staff have wanted to put it on YouTube for a variety of different reasons. And if you want to put it on YouTube, by all means, there's different ways you might want to do that. But you don't have to. No, certainly not. Sorry, there's something else further up there. Video earlier, I didn't hear the sound from your computer. Did you say we can record a video and play a YouTube video on my computer during the recording for students to hear? Michael, yes, you can do that. Sorry. And yeah, you might modify instructions some way, Tracy. That might be one way to do it, yeah. So if you're going to do that, Mr. Dannenhauer, if you want to record a YouTube video, you have to use the Chrome extension because of how things work on the back end of the app. So you can't use the desktop app and have a video's audio recorded. You need to have the video on YouTube or in your Google Drive, and you must be using the Chrome extension to make that work. to get it to work effectively. And also, there's just a couple of tools I've been using. I've been using Jamboard a little bit with my students, which I'm doing PD on tomorrow. Ed puzzles, videos, and questions together. But otherwise, I used up my half an hour. Thank you guys very much for being here. I greatly appreciate it. Thank you for being both awesome and dedicated professionals, because obviously we're off our official time, but you guys certainly came out anyhow. And let me just say for a couple of things that one, I am here to help in any way that I can. If you have any questions or concerns or problems, let me know. I'll be glad to try to help you out any way I can. What is it? The wisdom of the stairs, somebody said to me once, where as soon as you leave, you think of a couple of questions. Don't feel like you can't reach out. Quite a few people already have. And if this doesn't fit into your virtual classroom, don't worry about it. It's just one more tool to make sure you can connect with your students and help them in their learning and to continue instruction. But we don't know how long we're going to be in this format. So I'm trying to lean into this a little bit more by thinking to myself, what will the long-term structure look like?